Welcome to Damn It TV. We're here at the Fumbally Stables in Dublin city centre, where Hally and the Hymns are going to perform later on tonight. Before we listen to Hally play, we're going to sit down and have a chat about his music and his 52-week song release, Peeling Onions. Hally, how are you?
How's it going?
Thanks very much for inviting us to your gig tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So we were at your gig last year in St David's Church in Naas, and it was a great atmosphere, really good sound. What goes into picking these kind of venues? When we sort of put this band together, part of the initial conversation and what has now evolved to be a kind of an ethos was that we were going to endeavour to play special sort of spaces and rooms. I'm not particularly interested in playing the traditional venues with bars, and well, not that I'm adverse to that, but I mean, we did a show in the Worklands recently which is exactly that, and it was great. But yeah, we sort of made a bit of a plan that we would try and seek out special rooms with good vibes to try and put this show on. And it looks really good. The venue looks amazing. I want to talk about your 52-week song release. So you've called it Peeling Onions.
Yes.
So you're releasing a song every week for a year, and every song has a music video as well.
That's right.
Where did this idea come from?
Yeah. It evolved in sort of mid-2016. I had quite a lot of material or ideas that had been compiled over probably the previous year and some years before that. I had been on maybe a 10-year sabbatical from the business or from the performing side of music, and in that time I'd built a studio, I'd developed my production skills and engineering skills, I hope, to the point where I felt confident that I could make the kind of records that I was hearing in my head. Yeah. And I had this sort of bunch of material. I was feeling extremely creative. I've been in a very particular moment in my life where this stuff is just kind of flowing out of me. My initial idea was that I was just going to do a big long piece of music that would play for about 2 hours. And it was just this one piece of music, and it would evolve over that period of time. And then that sort of didn't happen, and a few things, the Arts Council turned us down for funding for that, and I had to rethink it. So the idea then became that I would release a song every week. And then it became that I would release a song and a video every week. And that seemed a little bit more achievable. It had a weekly deadline, it was quite fixed, and it would happen in this period of a year. So that's where it came from. And
at the start, when you said this to your band or your family that you were going to release a song every week for a year, it must have come across as being very brave and ambitious, but you've done it, you've nearly finished this project.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge, I think, has been I've had to work a lot. I've had to spend a lot of time in the studio. I haven't been able to be at home very much. And that's been difficult. There's been times where that's been difficult on my family, my wife and kids, and I've had to sit down at moments throughout the year to try and encourage them and assure them that it's just for a year. And that's probably been the most difficult part of it. I mean, making music is not difficult. That's easy. Going into the studio every day is easy. Having to kind of sleep in the studio and be away from home, that's the difficult part of it, yeah.
But the support you get from your fans alone is amazing. All of your live streams, your posts, great feedback from everyone. It must feel great having that kind of backing behind you.
Yeah, that's been fantastic. That's something that's evolved over the year. the first time I went live was the 1st of January 2017, New Year's Day. It was a Sunday, and I think there were 1 or 2 people tuned in, and very few people watched it in the aftermath, and that has grown over the year, and that's been amazing. We've gone from nothing to, you know, a good stack of people that follow this project. So it's great. It's great to get that feedback. There's been some really wonderful things said, and that's been important. That's, you know, when there's been moments in the year that have been difficult. I haven't felt maybe as motivated on some weeks as other weeks, and you know, those kind of contributions by people have been fantastic. Yeah.
So the band that you're playing with tonight,
yeah,
you found these guys from all different musical backgrounds. Was it difficult putting this band together?
It wasn't in the end. I've been putting this band together for 20 years, but it came together quite organically in the end. The rhythm section, which is Dave and Kevin, are 2 guys that were introduced to me through another friend of mine, and they're exactly what I was looking for. I knew that I wanted the rhythm section to be jazz players who were not sort of afraid to play other styles of music, but that was their sort of bread and butter, and that they would bring that sound to the shows, to the recordings, and bring that knowledge, because jazz musicians really have a vast knowledge of music. Gary O'Reilly, who I think you're familiar with, I mean, Gary's coming from, Gary is a fine multidisciplinary musician himself, but his day job, I suppose, is he's a remix DJ. He's coming from an electronic type background. Yeah. He's also a producer. Gary brings that to the table. He's also been integral when I have been mixing these songs during the year. I'll send it over to Gary, and he'll kind of tell me what's working, what's not working. So I suppose he's co-producing as well. Greg, who's on piano, is from Australia. I had my eye on Greg for a while. I went to see him play a couple of his solo shows. He's a jazz pianist, but he's more than that as well. And I approached him about halfway through the year. Ian, who plays guitar, I've known for a long, long time, and Ian played with me when I was in my 20s. And Ian is he's a very well-rounded musician. He's fantastic at sort of giving him a piece and you know, asking him to sort of come up with something around that, or giving him a piece and saying, play exactly that. And Will, who plays the brass and the woodwinds, again, I've known for a long, long time, and Will was sort of first really on board when I was putting the band together, or putting a band back together. I don't think I've left anyone out. I hope I haven't. That's it. Yeah, yeah. So
it's a big band.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'd love to have more, but I can't. I'm not allowed.
Supposed to change the subject slightly. In your biography, you say that you were either going to become a musician or a madman, and you started writing music in, let's say, a dark time in your life. How did that affect the kind of music you play, and did it affect the music that you listened to at the time?
I don't know. I can't remember what I was listening to at the time. I I would have been discovering a lot of music at that. I was young, sort of late teens, early 20s. I was being introduced to lots of different music, not necessarily new artists, but you know, Neil Young, David Bowie, a lot of songwriters that had been around for a long time, and there were a couple of artists that I identified with because they wrote about stuff that sort of meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me at that time. It still does, and they probably had a huge influence on how I write now, or how I evolved as a writer. But I've taken influence from so many different genres of music, probably to the extent that, you know, when you sit down and listen to this body of work, there are easily 7 or 8 distinct, what they would call genres. If you want to pigeonhole, you know, this music, it would fit into a lot of different styles, and then I'm sort of fusing them together, I think, at different points as well. And that's not everybody's cup of tea. You know, a lot of what I've discovered as well is sometimes people kind of want you to be one thing. They're familiar with that, and they don't want you to change from that. And that's not my thing. I quite frankly find that very boring. As a creator of music, I need to sort of continue to challenge what I do. So I don't think I even answered your question there, really.
No, you did. At Damn It TV, we do events that raises money to support mental health charities, and we think that some of the best music has been written by people who are in a dark place as well.
Yeah.
Do you think it's important for musicians nowadays, especially, to be talking about these kind of things?
Yes, it's important for everybody to be talking about these kind of things. As a young man, I had my own challenges when it came to mental health, and it was at a time in Ireland where these things were not being spoken about. We're going back to mid to late 90s, and it was very much a taboo subject. You were medicated. You know, that's how any of these conditions were treated. You were heavily medicated, sedated, and sort of put to one side. And that was my experience. And I had to fight. I truly had to fight to get well.
Yeah.
And I did. You know, and I'm one of the fortunate people that was able to come through it. Now, a lot of my problems were self-induced. I need to be clear about that. And they were induced through drug and alcohol addiction. But still, I found myself in a very, very dark place, and that's as legitimate as somebody with manic depression.
Yeah.
And I think things have definitely improved. I think it's a subject that people are talking about more. I definitely see a culture of treating it as a proper illness, you know, rather than that it's the person's fault. Pull yourself together type attitude. So, as long as this kind of continues, I think it's. I've lived in countries where they have a very progressive attitude to mental health, and we're not there yet. There's quite a bit to go. So, but I think it's on the right path.
Hally, thanks very much.
Cool.
We're really looking forward to your gig later on.
Great.
Best of luck with that.
We'll
talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Cheers, man. when the light subsides and it casts shadow in the pouring rain on every corner, down every street. Those ladies played for one last drink. Some were girls, some of us were boys, but we all just had to be there, 'cause we didn't have a choice. And a young American, he stole my glasses, and then he wondered if my seat was free. You can turn me to the rainbow in the graveyard of your life. Gather up my notebook, see what you will find. There's nothing ever finished, nothing ever rhymes. And in the back room there's a dreamer's novel. So very lonely, but it's fun, it's fun. I've been out riding deserts in the heat of the sun. I met Down here I met Marky, I met Mary, she was fun. And my maker brought me out here, so I look up to the sky and shake that demon ego from my heart. I went down to the valley, climbing mountains and shaking streams. I met lots of people down here who never seem to leave. And my maker brought me down here, so I look up to the sky